Yes, I mean, this proves the axiom that power abhors a vacuum, right? Yeah. So where's the vacuum? Yes. The vacuum is no American leadership in the region.
The U.S. created the vacuum.
We sort of invited him into Syria when President Obama, over the last 5 years, drew 12 red lines, said if Assad uses chemical weapons or any other form of weapon of that sort, there's going to be consequences. There were no consequences. The red line turned into a pink line. Then I think a yellow line.
Yeah,
and then no line.
It's not even funny. I mean,
it's absurd. We have left a vacuum.
And meantime, we're watching Russia build up its naval forces. Naval force equals world force. It equals world power. We're seeing Russia build up its naval force. Admiral Ferguson, the Navy's top commander in Europe, said that Russia's been building an arc of steel from the Arctic to the Med, building up its military forces, its naval forces, its ability to get its missiles further into countries that are NATO countries. This is a huge concern. This is not just something that's happening there in that region. This is Russia growing its power around the world. And Russia, if you've ever met someone who will shake your hand, smile at you, and then do exactly the opposite of what they just said, that is Russia, that is Vladimir Putin, and that is what's happening in this region right now.
Romney knew it. Romney said Russia is the one to watch during the 2012 election, and Obama said that Romney was a Cold War dinosaur.
What changes? What changes for us, by us, between now and next November?
Well, I don't think much changes, except for the fact that we're going to have a presidential debate that might push the president to act a little bit more decisively. I don't see much change.
Do we sit back and wait for us to get struck on our own soil? Is that what it's going to take to outrage the nation?
I don't know what it takes.
That's what I think.
It's important to listen to what some of the candidates are saying when people are making their decisions at home as to who they want to vote for. It's important to listen to what some of the candidates are saying about Russia. There are candidates out there that think that Russia is our friend. That is extremely naive.
Mayor,
that's why Ted Cruz has been doing better in the polls.
I was going to ask, Mayor, what do you think about Cruz and Rubio? Like, who is going to bring the thunder and not call people stupid and talk about their butts?
Well, I think somebody has to talk seriously about building up our military power. This reminds me of Carter and then Reagan succeeding Carter.
Yeah,
Carter did a massive reduction in our military. Finally, at the end, he started to build it up when he was trying to run for re-election. And then President Reagan had to rebuild our military. And President Bush had to do the same thing after President Clinton took the peace dividend.
Right.
So I think we're going to need a president who rebuilds our military. Look at it this way. Here was the gap between, let's say, China is another one that's building up its navy in the South China Sea. So this was the gap between our navies. We were here, they were there. What we're doing is we're reducing the size of our navy.
And
so we're making their ability to catch us much easier.
Much easier.
What Reagan did, according to Gorbachev, if you read his book, is, quote, he spent the Soviet Union out of existence, close quote. Because 5% of our GDP, or 6% spent on the military, they're going to have to spend 15, 16, 20, 25% of their GDP. This man doesn't understand that.
No,
he doesn't get it.
He wants to cut the...
He doesn't understand our budget. He doesn't understand the exercise of military power. I don't know. I mean, he just follows everyone.
One point to be made about this particular incident, this shoot down of the Russian plane, is that we will be able to piece together where the Russian plane was when it was shot down. That's information we'll find out. And right now, diplomacy has got to be really strong because we did not want this to escalate. That's why we came up with an MOU with Russia over communications in that airspace. This is exactly what we did not want to happen.
And I would say that it's probably exactly what Russia was planning.
Yeah.
Escalation. Yes. Kori, final word from you, and let me ask you this, because Putin's out on the wires and he's saying there's going to be real consequences for shooting down my warplane. What does that mean in your view? What are the consequences?
Well, I noticed that Putin focused it on consequences with Turkey, and this is something he's done before to try and pick off NATO allies and frighten the alliance into not standing in a unified way. It would be a very smart thing for the Turks today at the NATO meeting to ask NATO countries to invoke its Article 5, which is the Mutual Defense Pledge, so that the Russians are actually facing a united West, which I agree with the other commentators, President Obama has not yet required them to do.
And meantime, Russia saying that it is legitimately there because it's there by invitation of Syria. Don't forget that. That's what Russia says.
Because Russia is in bed with Syria.
And he's calling Turkey terrorist accomplices.
Right.
Which is very interesting.
But really what he's doing is he's protecting his assets, including that port in Tartus and Latakia.
Yeah, and he wants sanctions lifted.
Of course.
Yeah. Lea, thank you for your insights as always. Lea Gabrielle, Kori, good to see you. Kori Schake joining us as well.